There is a particular kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. You feel it in the middle of an argument you didn't want to have, in a conversation you're only half in, nodding along, waiting for it to end, in the effort of trying to explain yourself to someone who was never going to understand anyway. Nobody tells you when this starts. There is no single day where you wake up and decide you're done proving yourself. It happens more like a tide going out, slowly, without asking permission. One day you look up and notice the energy just isn't there anymore. Not because you stopped caring, but because caring started to feel different. Think about the things you used to fight for. The last word in an argument, being understood by someone who'd already made up their mind, impressing people you'll probably never see again. There was a time all of that felt urgent, necessary even. I think when we're younger, a lot of our energy goes toward being seen, being right, being included, moving forward, whatever that means at the time. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things. Most of us needed to want them to get anywhere at all. But something shifts. Maybe it's age. Maybe it's just enough disappointment, enough late nights spent replaying conversations that didn't need replaying. Either way, a question starts showing up that wasn't there before. Is this actually worth it? Take arguments, the ones that used to matter so much. Being right, having the last word, making sure someone understood you and understood your side of things. At some point you notice that winning doesn't feel like winning. It just feels like being tired in a different way. And walking away from that isn't giving up. It's closer to recognizing that your own peace is worth more than someone else agreeing with you. The same thing happens with people pleasing, though it's quieter, harder to name. For years you might carry the weight of everyone's expectations, worrying about who you've let down, who's judging you, whether you're doing enough. And then one day it becomes obvious. Someone will always have an opinion about you. Always. No amount of careful living changes that. So the effort starts going somewhere else, toward the people who make you feel comfortable rather than the ones you're trying to convince, toward fewer explanations, toward simply not carrying every reaction that isn't yours to carry. Even the way we measure a good life seems to change. When you're younger, there's usually a list. A better job, more money, a bigger house. Something to point to and say, that's when I'll finally feel like I've made it. Those things aren't meaningless. But most people eventually find that a life isn't only built from what gets achieved, it's built from smaller things too. A coffee that's still warm when you finally sit down to drink it. A conversation that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere in particular and doesn't need to. A walk where nothing happens, and that's exactly the point. Ordinary things, the kind you'd have overlooked completely a decade ago. There's something almost practical about this too. You start to notice that your time isn't endless, that you can't say yes to everything, can't be everywhere, can't hold every responsibility that gets handed to you. And instead of feeling like a loss, that limit can feel like relief. A slower life isn't a smaller one. Sometimes it just means you finally worked out what deserves your attention and what doesn't. You become more careful about who gets close, about which conversations are worth having, about what you let disturb the peace you only just started to protect. Maybe that's the part nobody mentions about getting older. That some of it isn't about losing everything at all. It's about no longer spending yourself on things that leave you empty. No longer chasing approval that was never coming. No longer fighting battles that were only ever about the fighting. The things you stop having energy for are, more often than not, the things that were quietly taking the most from you. And when you let them go, there's room again for the people who matter, for the moments that don't ask anything from you, for all the ordinary things you almost missed the first time around. Maybe growing older was never really about losing energy. Maybe it was always just about learning where to spend it. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video.